What is your name?
So my name's Layla. I'm the MP for Oxford West and Abingdon. I'm a Liberal Democrat.
What's your ideal Brexit outcome?
So we are here today on Valentine's Day. We're meant to be voting on Theresa May's deal. I think the deal's atrocious. I think it's atrocious for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Liberal Democrats have been clear all along. There is no version of Brexit that we think is better than the deal we already have with the European Union. We are the party of Remain. We are a party who is unambiguously wanting to stay in the EU. And the way that we think we can achieve that is through a people's vote where Theresa May's deal, as botched as it may be, is put back to the people with the option to remain there.
What will be the impact of Brexit on students?
So one of my main motivations at all for caring about this is because I'm education spokesperson. I used to be a teacher, and the impact on students is immense. Because, frankly, when I went to university, about maybe a third of my year ended up doing a sandwich year abroad. It was just a normal part of what British students could expect from being able to do undergraduate degrees. You got that brilliant experience of going elsewhere, learning a different language, interacting with other people, and then down the line, the ability to go and seek jobs abroad. So my brother and sister, who are younger than me, now live in Berlin. The choices that you can make as a young person are diminished, and the vast majority of young people didn't vote for Brexit. They voted to remain in the EU because I think they could see that for themselves, and moreover, most of them were too young at the time, even though it affects them the longest. So it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about stopping Brexit, because I think most young people don't want Brexit to happen.
What will be the wider impacts of Brexit on the UK as a whole?
So there are many wider impacts on Brexit as well. It's not just on young people, although of course it affects them. So first of all, Britain's economy, no matter which way you cut it, definitely in the medium term, will be diminished through Brexit. We will be poorer. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that the quality and number of jobs that might be available to young people just isn't there, and it wouldn't be for anyone. It means that we've got less money to spend on the NHS and schools and everything else. It also means that potentially house prices will reduce, because while we just don't have that same confidence in order to make those massive purchases. And whilst that sounds like it would be a good thing, actually you've got to remember that there are lots of people who might end up in negative equity, and that could lead to a further recession, which is no good for anyone. So actually, yes, we have to tackle things like our housing crisis, but you don't do it by fundamentally damaging the economy. You do it through other means, making sure that people have an ability to get on the housing ladder. And the last thing I will say is that freedom of movement, both ways, is a good thing. When I spoke before about the ability for British people to go and work and live abroad, but actually the other side to it is that certainly in places like Oxford, West and Abingdon, the immigrants that come over from Europe are scientists, are teachers, are nurses, are doctors, are care workers. They are so-called immigrants. Actually, they are core parts of our community. Many of them are married to British citizens. They contribute, and they are worth welcoming with open arms. And I'm seriously concerned that by doing Brexit in the way that we have, this hostile environment that we have in the Home Office, in the end what we're doing is creating a country where people don't feel welcome. That is not how I see the world. For me and the Liberal Democrats, Britain should be open for business. It should be somewhere where you know that you, when you come here, will have an open and tolerant society where we value equality and liberty and community. And that's what I stand for as a Liberal Democrat, and it's why I'm so fundamentally against Brexit.
What are your thoughts on the Northern Irish backstop?
So where this is all going, and where this has always been, is what are we going to do about Northern Ireland? So Northern Ireland shares its land, that island, with the Republic of Ireland, and the border there is incredibly precarious. It's precarious because it's not just one line, it's actually lots of roads that are crossing that line. To put in border controls at that point, you're talking about literally hundreds of different points of crossing along there. It's really, really, really complicated. What we have to avoid at all costs is any infrastructure that goes along that border. Not just because it would be annoying, which it would be for businesses, but also because the very balanced peace agreement that we have there, it's called the Belfast Agreement, is partly predicated on goods and people being able to flow easily between the two, and as a result into and out of the EU, because the Republic of Ireland is in the EU. So the backstop to me may not have been necessary had we gone with the softest possible Brexit, but that's not what Theresa May's done. She's gone for a pretty hard Brexit, now is even flirting with no deal, and so actually I think the backstop is the very minimum that should be required out of this process. So I support it, but in the end what I support is no form of Brexit at all. I believe we should stay in the EU, and I think potentially we can still deliver this. It's going to be hard, but we can still get a people's vote, and that's what I'm aiming towards.